was a fighter, I was a boxer, I was good at it too. You know, I was an AAU champ, and I was a Golden Glove runner-up. You could tell the way I move how good I was. My coach had a good saying about me. One thing about Martin, he ain't gonna get hit, and he ain't gonna hit nobody.
It's bothering me, man. You know, you can't say this, you can't say that. I'm like, well, how am I gonna talk about the world?
But Martin, unfortunately, you know, show business at a certain point in his life got the best of him. And when that happens, you see it happening, and there's nothing you can do about it.
What's going on with Martin Lawrence? At 59, the actor and comedian has shared some news that has left fans worried. Could it be about his health, his career, or something personal?
I said, Mama used to say, take your time, young.
People have loved him for years, but now they're asking, is everything okay? What is the truth behind the fears everyone is talking about? Let's find out what Martin Lawrence has revealed.
Well, I was boxing before stand-up, so, you know, I was the next Sugar Ray Leonard.
Born in 1965 in Frankfurt, Germany, because his father was in the U.S. military at the time, he was the fourth of 6 children. When Martin was just 8 years old, his parents divorced, and his father left the family. Martin and his siblings moved back to the United States with their mother to start a new life.
But I knew I could make people laugh, you know, because I was always in school clowning and around my friends. You know, I would grab their attention in the streets, and they would crowd around and just listen to me tell jokes and things like that.
Growing up was hard for Martin and his family. They didn't have much money, and his mother worked 2 jobs to support them. Martin once shared in an interview that they lived in government Section 8 housing, and his mom always found a way to put food on the table, even though it wasn't easy. Martin's brother, Robert Lawrence, remembered their tough times too, but said that even though they didn't have many material things, they had love, which helped a lot. Martin's mother, Clora Lawrence, agreed, saying that love kept them going.
Told my mother that was something that I had a made-up mind that I wanted to do. She said, well, you know, that's a very hard field, you know, that you're trying to go into. I don't know. I said, well, you know, Mama, either I make it in comedy or I don't make it at all, you know. So I kind of gave myself no options.
After Martin's comedy career took off, he wanted to thank his mom for everything she did for them. He bought her a home in California, where he was now living. Martin said that buying her a house felt even better than buying one for himself. It was one of the best feelings he ever had. He also worked as a telephone sales representative, selling maintenance agreements to customers who had just purchased appliances from Sears. He never made a single sale, but did wind up forging a friendship with co-workers in nearby cubicles who were also destined for stardom. Cheryl James and Sandra Denton, who would go on to become rap duo Salt and Pepa. And that was cool because I used to mess with them every day, Lawrence recalled. Wouldn't let them get their work done. I was always flirting and everything. Also, when Martin was a teenager, he lived in a tough neighborhood. He knew he had to learn how to defend himself. Martin started boxing and trained at the Sugar Ray Leonard Boxing Center in Maryland. He was really good at it and became an Amateur Athletic Union, AAU, champion at just 15 years old. Martin often joked about his short boxing career in his comedy routines. He said that his coach once came up with a saying about him, "One thing about Martin, he ain't gonna get hit, and he ain't gonna hit nobody." However, Martin's boxing career didn't last long. During a match, he took a strong punch to the face, and when his mother saw how bruised and swollen he was, she told him to give up boxing. Although it was hard to stop something he enjoyed, this moment changed his life in a good way. Martin turned to comedy to channel his energy. He later said that the lessons he learned in boxing helped him in his comedy career. Boxing taught him focus, consistency, and the drive to always be better. These lessons helped him become one of the best in comedy.
It's bothering me, man. You know, you can't say this, you can't say that. I'm like, well, how am I gonna talk about the world?
Talking about comedy in February 1994, Martin hosted the famous show Saturday Night Live, SNL. Usually everything on SNL is carefully planned. The writers create scripts, and the performers rehearse them before going live. But Martin Lawrence decided to do things his way during his opening monologue.
The ladies in the 90s have license to cut off the pilly packers.
Instead of sticking to the script, Martin started talking about women's hygiene in a way that many people found offensive. He joked about women he thought didn't keep themselves clean. The audience didn't seem comfortable, but Martin kept going. This caused a lot of trouble for the show. After the episode aired, SNL got 200 complaints from viewers. Because of how inappropriate his comments were, his full monologue is no longer shown on TV. If you want to see it, you can only read the transcript.
And the lady cut it off, man. And cut it off while he was asleep. See?
After this incident, Martin Lawrence was banned from SNL, or at least that's what many people believe. Martin later said it wasn't SNL that banned him, but the network NBC. He explained this during an interview on The Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God. Even though Martin says he's not banned anymore, he has never returned to the show. When his friend Eddie Murphy hosted SNL in 2019, other comedians like Tracy Morgan and Dave Chappelle joined Eddie on stage. But Martin wasn't there. Martin has said he doesn't care if he's banned or not. He believes in doing comedy his way and doesn't like to hold back. "I don't compromise my comedy," he told Charlemagne. "I just want to give people what I'm feeling."
Well, peace and a bottle of hair grease to you too.
Another tragic event happened to him which gave everyone a big scare. This happened in Los Angeles. He was seen wandering in the middle of a busy street in Sherman Oaks. Witnesses say he was yelling and acting like a madman. Police quickly arrived and found Lawrence in the middle of the road at Tyrone Avenue and Ventura Boulevard. He had a loaded handgun in his pocket, which made the situation even more serious. He was shouting things like, "Fight the power," and using some strong language. One witness, Aaron Berg, told a local news channel, "I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's Martin Lawrence." He was yelling and fighting with the police. It was crazy to see. The police managed to get Lawrence off the street and took him to Sherman Oaks Hospital for evaluation. After that, he was sent to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where he was admitted for treatment. At first, police said that Lawrence had not been taking some medication he was prescribed, which may have caused a seizure. Later, his doctor, William Young from Cedars-Sinai, said Lawrence was suffering from extreme exhaustion and dehydration. The hospital spokesperson, Ron Wise, confirmed that Lawrence was in fair condition, but said he didn't know anything about the medication claims. As police prepared to take him off the street, Lawrence reportedly joked, "I always told everybody they'd be coming for me someday." Authorities are now looking into whether Lawrence's handgun was legally registered. If not, he could face charges for carrying a concealed weapon. This raised concerns about Lawrence's health and well-being then. Fans were hoping he takes the time he needs to recover.
Martin Lawrence is the guy that showed everybody you can make it from D.C. to Hollywood. And I had a personal stake in his success. Every time he did something, it made me feel inspired and really good. And he was always real nice to me.
3 months after a troubling incident, Lawrence found himself in the spotlight again. This time it happened at Burbank Airport. He was trying to board a plane to Phoenix while carrying a loaded 9mm Beretta pistol. Lawrence told the police he thought it was okay to bring guns on interstate flights. Surprisingly, no charges were filed against him for this incident. Things didn't stop there. Lawrence got into a fight at a nightclub. He punched a man on the dance floor. Why? Lawrence said the man bumped into him while dancing. This shows how quickly situations could escalate with him. Although no charges were filed in the airport incident or the nightclub fight, these stories added to Lawrence's growing reputation for trouble. Lawrence's actions during this time raised many questions about his choices and behavior. While some saw these moments as misunderstandings, others believed they reflected deeper issues. Either way, it was clear that he was dealing with a lot of problems in both his personal and public life.
And Martin had a stroke. He almost died. And then after that, I saw him, and I was like, "Oh my God, Martin, are you okay?" And he said, "I got the best sleep I ever got in my life." That's how tough he is.
This wasn't the only trouble in Lawrence's life. According to reports from People magazine, his personal life was also messy. His then-wife accused him of acting violently and behaving in strange, unpredictable ways. In 1996, Martin Lawrence filed for divorce to end his marriage to wife Patricia. As the Washington Post reported, she'd won a restraining order against him due to her allegations that he threatened her with murder. In her divorce filing, she claimed he called her on the telephone and told her, "You'll pay for what you've done to my family." The following day, she alleged his threats escalated. "I'm going to have to you," he told her, she claimed. I'm going to have to your family. She subsequently received a note, which hadn't been signed, slipped under her door. I will do anything to have you back, the note read, before taking a chilling turn, reading, if I can't have you, then I will make sure that no one has you. So come home now. If you don't, then I will have to do what I have to do. The note concluded, I love you to the death. Patricia's divorce lawyer, Suzanne Harris, placed at least some of the blame for the situation with members of Lawrence's team who saw him as a meal ticket and not a troubled man in the midst of a mental health crisis. We think he's not getting the help he needs, Harris told People. There are people making money in his coterie who are more interested in seeing the cash flow continue than in seeing him get better.
I said, Mama used to say, take your time, young man.
Around the same time that Martin Lawrence's marriage to wife Patricia was imploding, a similar situation was unfolding with his make-believe TV wife on the set of Martin. In January 1997, the Los Angeles Times reported that Tisha Campbell, Lawrence's Martin co-star, announced she was quitting the show due to intolerable conditions after walking off the set the previous November and refusing to return. HBO, which produced the series for Fox, filed for a temporary restraining order that would force her back to work. She countersued, alleging sexual battery and sexual harassment. That suit was settled out of court, and Campbell and Lawrence were able to bury the hatchet long enough to film the final episodes before the series ended that May. At the time, reported Variety, Lawrence insisted the show concluded because he wanted it to. In a 2020 interview with GQ, Lawrence dismissed the narrative that his behavior had anything to do with the show's cancellation as BS, telling the magazine, I just decided to end it. People said that I got canceled, but that wasn't the case. I decided to just leave the show, he explained. Campbell subsequently appeared on daytime show The Talk, where she was asked about Lawrence's remarks. Campbell noted that she couldn't comment because of a confidentiality agreement, but implied Lawrence's spin was inaccurate. But what I can say is, I was actually kind of shocked, Campbell said via Essence.
I love you.
Martin would always be a comedy legend, and Dave Chappelle has always admired him. In an interview, Dave talked about how Martin's journey inspired him. Coming from Washington, D.C., Martin showed that you could rise to Hollywood success with talent and determination. Dave felt personally connected to Martin's success because it gave him hope and pride. Martin was also kind to Dave, often checking in and talking to him like a big brother.
Martin Lawrence is the guy that showed everybody you can make it from D.C. to Hollywood. And I had a personal stake in his success. Every time he did something, it made me feel inspired.
When they worked together on the movie Blue Streak, Dave saw firsthand how amazing Martin was. They promoted the movie together, but not long after, Martin faced a scary moment. He suffered a stroke and nearly died. When Dave saw him after that, Martin joked about how it was the best sleep he ever had. That showed how tough Martin was, even when facing something so serious.
And Martin had a stroke. He almost died. And then after that, I saw him, and I was like, oh my God, Martin, are you okay? And he said, I got the best sleep I ever got in my life. That's how tough he is.
But then something strange happened. Martin was spotted on the street waving a gun and yelling, "They're trying to kill me." Dave couldn't understand how someone as strong as Martin could end up in such a situation. He started wondering what was going on in Hollywood. Dave also pointed out other odd stories, like Mariah Carey having a breakdown and himself feeling so overwhelmed that he went to Africa. He questioned why these strong, successful people were struggling in such a big way. Dave believes calling someone crazy is dismissive. He doesn't think people like Martin are weak or out of control. Instead, he feels the Hollywood environment might be the real problem.
But Martin, unfortunately, show business at a certain point in his life got the best of him. And when that happens, you see it happening. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Now, do you ever wonder what fame does to a person? For Lawrence, fame was like a storm that swept him off his feet. Many say he couldn't handle it, and even his friends hinted at a darker side. Steve White, a writer for the show Martin and once a roommate of Lawrence, said, "Will Smith is like Evander Holyfield, and Martin is like Mike Tyson. Tyson will do anything for you, but people don't understand him." Jamie Masada, who owns the Laugh Factory Comedy Club in LA, noticed how Martin changed when he became famous. Fame got into his head, Masada said. He started showing up with bodyguards and security. Some people can handle it, but if you're not strong, fame can destroy you. Even Martin himself admitted that fame was tough. I tried to prepare for it, but you really can't, he said in an interview. He talked about a time in his life when everything felt overwhelming. He was working too hard, his marriage was falling apart, and he wasn't getting enough rest. Martin also mentioned how his temper and drinking used to get him into trouble. But he said he's learning to control himself now. I had to figure out how to keep it together, he said. He and his ex-wife, Patricia, still stay in touch for the sake of their daughter, Jasmine. There were even rumors about Martin going to rehab, but he denied needing it. He said, "I was there for one day and came home. I realized I needed to fix myself, not rely on some program. The flip side of having nothing to lose is having something to gain." But Martin is more than just a man with personal problems. He's a star with a lot of people depending on him. If he doesn't keep it together, those who care about him could get hurt. In August 1999, Martin went through a terrifying health scare that almost cost him his life. At the time, his career was booming, and he was getting ready for a new movie role. To prepare, Lawrence wanted to lose some weight and thought jogging would help. However, he made a big mistake. On a very hot day, Lawrence decided to go for a run while wearing multiple layers of clothing under a nylon jogging suit. This was not a good choice, especially since it was extremely warm outside. As he jogged, his body temperature quickly shot up. Soon, Lawrence collapsed from heat stroke. He was rushed to the hospital where doctors found that his body temperature had reached a dangerous 107 degrees. To make sure he could breathe, doctors put him on a respirator. The situation was serious. Lawrence had fallen into a coma and was in critical condition. Doctors were worried, but after 3 days, he woke up. Fortunately, Lawrence fully recovered from the heat stroke. Looking back, Lawrence said the experience changed his life. In a 2002 interview, he explained, "I felt like, in the coma, God laid me down and woke me up to be able to see a lot more clearly, and it's humbled me a great deal." He realized that this scary moment taught him to appreciate life more. Years later, Lawrence jokingly shared what he had learned from the experience. During an appearance on Conan, he advised viewers, "So please, I recommend, do not run in a plastic suit. I picked the hottest day of the summer, and next thing I know, I was sleeping on the ground."
Clear that up. But I thank everybody for the concern and the love, and just thank you. But Marty's all good. Marty's all right.
Also in mid-2024, rumors started to spread that Martin had suffered a stroke. Some fans were worried about his health after seeing a video from the premiere of Bad Boys, Ride or Die. In the clip, Lawrence looked a bit unsteady while standing on a double-decker bus with his co-star Will Smith. Smith was seen rapping, while Lawrence appeared to be struggling to keep his balance as they waved to the crowd. On a radio show called Hot 97's Ebro in the Morning, Lawrence spoke up about these rumors. The host, Ebro Darden, asked Lawrence if he was okay because many fans thought something might be wrong with his health. Lawrence explained that he wasn't feeling sick, but was just shocked by the huge turnout for the movie. "I was like, oh, this is rock concert stuff," he said, clearly surprised by how many people came out for the premiere. When asked if he wanted to say anything to the people concerned about him, Lawrence reassured them. "I'm fine. I'm in God's hands," he said. "I'm blessed. You know, I'm glad to be waking up every day. I'm all good. No need for people to be concerned." I mean, you wouldn't blame the fans given the fact that Lawrence has had health problems in the past, which might be why people were so worried. As mentioned earlier, he collapsed while jogging on a hot day and fell into a coma for 3 days. At that time, he was preparing for his role in Big Mama's house, where he had to wear heavy clothes for a physical role. He was later diagnosed with exhaustion after the incident, but that didn't stop fans from talking about his health. Some fans thought he looked disengaged, but Lawrence explained that he was just grieving the recent death of his brother. One fan pointed out that Lawrence had already told people he was going through a tough time and asked everyone to be kind. In his interview with Ebro, Lawrence told his fans to stop worrying and stop spreading rumors. "I'm healthy as hell," he said. "Stop the rumors."
I was a fighter, I was a boxer, I was good at it too. You know, I was an AAU champ, and I was Golden Glove runner-up. You could tell the way I move how good I was. My coach had a good saying about me. One thing about Martin, he ain't gonna get hit, and he ain't gonna hit nobody.
When Martin Lawrence first began performing stand-up, his comedy debut didn't exactly bode well for a successful future. The first time I ever got on, I bombed bad, and I thought I would never get on stage again, he recalled in an interview with Variety. While crashing and burning on stage could easily have crushed his dreams, Lawrence demonstrated the tenacity that would propel him to stardom. But I knew I was better than that, he explained. Rather than set aside his dream, Lawrence instead became a student of comedy, immersing himself in the routines of his stand-up idols. When he built up the courage to return on stage, this time he was ready. Despite the hours and hours he spent in front of audiences over the years since then, stage fright has been a constant companion. In a 2016, while speaking with Esquire about returning to stand up for his first special in 14 years, he admitted he still gets anxious prior to stepping on stage. Before every show, I'm nervous, Lawrence said, but explained that anxiety now serves to sharpen him. But that's all right because they're good nerve, he added. They keep me focused and they keep me in line to do what I gotta do. Added Lawrence, I take my nerves and I bottle it up and I channel that energy and I go up there and do what I'm supposed to do.
That show was black from the front of the time your came through that gate to the back. He hired us and made us recognize it. Then they made him the highest paid sitcom star after, Bill Cosby.
In 2023, more than 30 years since he burst on the comedy scene, Martin Lawrence received his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. On hand at the ceremony were former co-stars Tichina Arnold, who was a series regular on Martin, and Lynn Whitfield, Lawrence's co-star in the 1996 film A Thin Line Between Love and Hate. Also attending to pay tribute were two of his contemporaries from the world of comedy, Steve Harvey and Tracy Morgan. The latter honored Lawrence in a speech, praising his influence on the generations of comedians who followed the trail he'd blazed. In my generation, when you say Martin, you don't have to say his last name, Morgan said, as reported by ABC's 7 Eyewitness News. Everybody knows who you're talking about. My parents had Red Fox and Sanford and Son. We had Martin Lawrence and The Martin Show. After the ceremony, Lawrence admitted the whole thing had been hugely emotional for him. I've been crying all week, so I figured if I had my glasses on today, maybe y'all won't see the tears, he joked, referring to the dark sunglasses he was wearing. But they're most definitely tears of joy. And that is all for today. Bye.